Okay, we're close. We're almost. Hey, we are live. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in to the BAMF podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lafferty, here with my guest, Darrin Drader, and frequent co-host, Jacob Blackmon. And before we let those guys talk, there's our delightful musical intro that assures you this is a high production values podcast. Critical Role has nothing on us. And today, we're here to talk about...
You're just going to flat out say them by name?
Right? Are they the D&D Mafia? Should I be scared of them? What?
Oh,
you might want to be.
They're going to come over here and take my dice away? What's going on?
I would like the fans of Critical Role to know that I am a huge fan. I watch it every week. I have been watching since the first series.
I officially have no position on Critical Role.
We're here to talk about Counterspell.
Yes, we are.
Indeed.
If we're going to be honest, let's just say Counterspell in the rules is written, and the world's most popular RPG, well, it kind of sucks. And Darrin Drader, formerly of Wizards of the Coast, and Jacob Blackmon, in Wisconsin and Oklahoma, man, I'm a freelance illustrator, are here to tell you how it can be better. So, Darrin.
Yes. All right, so where should we start here?
Dave has my back. Thank you, Dave, NB6746. Appreciate that.
All right, so first of all, we're talking about 5th edition. We're not talking about Pathfinder. We're not talking about any other games. We're talking specifically 5th edition. We can also talk 3.5 because I think that it's worth comparing a little bit. But the way the Counterspell works currently is you've got a spell that you can take at 3rd level. So you're taking this instead of Fireball or Lightning Bolt. And if you're casting this against a 3rd, 2nd, or 1st level spell, it's automatic and the other spell fails. If you're casting it against a spell of 4th level or higher, you make an ability check using your spell casting ability. DC equals 10 plus the spell's level. On a success, the creature spell fails and has no effect. So, why does...
You're going with the older version.
It's the one that's on... It's on Roll20. Is there a newer version?
There is the 2024 version is entirely different. And
oh, for God's sake! You mean worse. I've got to actually look this up?
Okay, Counterspell. This is the
2024. You messed up our whole show, man. You're hijacking things. What are you doing?
No. I want to make this point known because I love the version that Darrin has just talked about. That is my favorite version of Counterspell. The new version of Counterspell that they put out for the 2024 version is bullshit.
All right.
It's still 3rd level. All the other stuff is pretty much the same. Reaction, 60 feet, somatic components, instantaneous duration, and a reaction to cast. Okay. You attempt to interrupt a creature in the process of casting a spell. The creature, not you, the creature makes a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the spell dissipates with no effect, and the action, bonus action, or reaction used to cast it is wasted. And here's the bullshit part. If that spell was cast with a spell slot, the slot isn't expended.
Okay, so
you have used Counterspell at 3rd level, which is a very limited resource. You only get 3 3rd level spells, or you have to cast, or you have to upcast, and your opponent has no loss of resources other than a wasted turn.
So they've taken it from bad and made it even worse. And I wasn't even aware that there's a new version, so sorry about that.
Proceed.
That's for you, sir. That's a good thing. Can anybody read the text on this Counterspell screen I'm sharing from...
No,
it's way too small.
Yeah, way too small.
That's the Roll20 version. Let's get rid of that. But it's the same words Jacob just said.
Okay, so why don't we, just for the sake of comparison, talk about how they did it at 3-5.
Yep.
3-5, you first have to use a reaction to interrupt what they're doing. Then you have to make a, I believe it was an Arcana check. I'd have to go back to the skills in 3-5, but you make a check to see if you can identify what spell they are casting. And then what you do is, if you have the same spell, then you can expend a spell slot to reverse cast it at the same time they're casting it, thereby they can cancel each other out. I also find this method flawed.
Yeah. What was worse? You didn't even get there wasn't even a reaction to it. If you wanted to counterspell in third edition, and this includes first edition Pathfinder, you had to ready an action to prepare a dispel magic spell to counterspell. Or if you happen to have the exact same spell based on the knowledge check, you could counterspell by casting the exact same spell.
Right.
Now, there was a third option to this. If you had a specific feat that let you use a spell of the same level and the same school as was being cast against you, you could do that to counterspell. But you had to spend a feat to get that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, limited resource.
So, like I said, I think that I don't think there's been a good rule yet for counterspelling, at least not an official one in D&D.
See, and this is where I disagree. I think the original 5th edition counterspell is an excellent version for counterspelling because it takes a reaction. You don't have to waste your own action. It has the ability to upcast. So if you want to counterspell to take care of higher level spells, you can do that. And the spell roll is in your hands, not your opponent's. Plus, it's fair because it eliminates both your opponent's turn and their resources because they have to expend the spell slot that to cast their spell that you have just countered.
Well, I agree that the spell slot should be expended.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm 100% in agreement on that. What I don't like is the fact that you've got to have this prepared as a spell to use it.
You think counterspelling should just be an ability?
Yes.
That you could just expend a spell slot of an equivalent level and make an ability check?
Yes. So here's
that.
Here's what I have in mind. Here's what's going to be in the Darrin Drader RPG, which we're going to be kickstarting here pretty soon. If you are a spellcaster, that it's not just wizards, not just warlocks, or sorcerers, any spellcaster, cleric, druid, whatever.
A ranger, perhaps a bard.
Sure.
Okay.
As long as so if you're trying to counterspell an arcane spell, you have to be able to cast arcane spells. Same thing with divine spells. So you can't use arcane magic to counter divine magic. That has to match up. So aside from that, any creature that can cast magic or has spell-like abilities can attempt to counterspell. This includes creatures, and that's one of the things that you looking through the monster manual. I don't believe you'll find any creature in there who has counterspell as a spell. Just pointing that out.
Yeah,
it's one of those lopsided things that it'll work in favor of the players, but it won't ever work against the players unless you are fighting other player character NPCs, or I should say, NPCs with character levels. So what you do, according to my plan here, is, and the other thing is that level is not dependent. So let's say that you're a first level character. This is assuming that you've it just kind of makes the assumption that with a basic degree of magic ability or magical training, you're able to. That's one of the things that you would just know it. They would have taught it to you, or you would just know it. So, let's say first level, you've got your one spell. Somebody's about to cast another first level spell at you. You say, "Okay, I'm using my reaction to counterspell." You make an Arcana check. They make an Arcana check. If your Arcana check beats their Arcana check, you have countered their spell.
Okay.
And that's the same going up in spell levels. So 9th level spell versus 9th level spell. Or if you are out of slots, say it's a 7th level spell, but you've got 9th level slots available, then you can burn a 9th level slot to counterspell that 7th level spell. You don't get any particular advantages for that, but you would at least get to make the check. And then, of course, the other point being that if you successfully defeat their spell, they have burned a slot.
Okay.
What do you think, Jake? Do you like that?
I think just making counterspell an ability that spellcasters have, make them have to expend a spell slot to use it of an appropriate level. Yeah, I am absolutely for that. But actually, I might expand upon that, because this is something that my friend and I, Tom, were doing for a variety of spellcasters when we were running Pathfinder, because it makes no sense when you have certain spellcasters who can't do certain things because the player decided not to take certain spells.
Mm-hmm.
Every wizard should have Detect Magic, Read Magic, and Prestidigitation as the basic curriculum that their master taught them when they were studying magic. And I'm not talking about, as spells. Those should just be things they can do. A wizard should be able to detect, read, and cast prestidigitation, because that's just magic they are capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And to a certain degree, sorcerers should just be able to do detect magic, not necessarily read magic, because they don't have to study for their stuff. It's innate to them. But they should just be able to detect magic and maybe have prestidigitation as well, because they're just innately magical.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't disagree with that. I think that
even just do that as like cantrips, not even as slotted spells.
Even identify. And the reason I'm going to throw identify in there as well is because as a DM, you want them to be able to identify quickly, immediately, and not have to make a note and keep it to the side of, this is that thing they found, and they're gonna figure out what this is like 2 hours from now, when you have moved way the heck on from that point in the game.
Mm-hmm. 5th edition makes some allowances for that. You can use the Arcana spell, not the spell, the skill, to identify magic items. But there's an associated check and all, but it won't necessarily tell you everything. The identify spell is what you cast when you want to know absolutely everything about the magic item that's in your hands.
Right.
That should also tell you this might be cursed.
Well, that's the one thing about identify that's a bit of a pain. It does kind of spoil the cursed surprise.
Yeah, but again, like I said, with Counterspell, if you're going to expend a resource, for you kiddies out there, you used to have to spend a 100 gold piece pearl per item that you were identifying. And we would constantly make jokes about wizards having to identify things after a big haul, because you're supposed to crush up the 100 gold piece pearl and sprinkle it into a goblet of wine, which is then drank to identify the item. So it's just this is per item. So it's like, okay, ooh, that's good. This is one to fireball. There you go. There's your ring of invisibility. There's your staff of protection. I don't know what this armor does, man, but it's really awesome. It's just the spellcaster just getting more and more sloshed as they're having to identify every freaking item after long haul.
It'd be hard not to indulge in some Harry Carey roleplay with that kind of thing. If anyone listening to this show knows who Harry Carey is, but well, it's interesting stuff. So we're going to be fixing this in Darrin Dread, coming Kickstarter very soon.
Yeah, yes. I like your solution, and I'm going to present this to my gaming group as a potential idea for introducing into our house rules, because I like it.
Sweet. Now, see, it aligns with my with my design philosophy, which is KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Mm-hmm. I think that it's a little too much, to go back to 3.5 and say that you have to have that exact spell to be able to counter it. And there are so many steps in the 3.5 process that it's, if you wanted to counterspell, it would slow the game down, which is the one thing that I would like to not do at all costs. In fact, in my opinion, anything that speeds up the game is a good thing, as long as it doesn't come at the expense of, character options, player satisfaction, that type of thing. So it is simple, it is elegant, and also this will make it possible. There's always been, like in fantasy, there's fantasy fiction particularly, wizard duels. Wizard duels where they're sitting there and they're casting spells at each other, and somehow they don't get killed. Maybe they do eventually, but it's like spell after spell after spell, and for some reason, it's like they're dropping fireballs and magic missile and all this stuff against each other, and yet this can go on for quite a while and nobody dies.
Yeah.
So in this way, it becomes less of a fireworks show and more of a game of chess. It's like you've got X number of spell casting slots. They do too. You cast, they cast. Make your Arcana checks. And by the way, if it's I am thinking Arcana is only for arcane spells. So for divine spells, it'd probably be like a wisdom check or religion check, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Something I was thinking of, that, considering it's come up in the past, will your rules allow for counterspelling a counterspell?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because I have seen in some live action plays, I have seen a 10 level counterspell where because they had a whole bunch of players on the field. There were over 10 spellcasters on the field, and like the main villain cast one. Someone counterspelled. The main villain's henchman counterspelled that counterspell. Another player counterspelled that counterspell. And it went on for like this for 10 levels of counterspell.
Wow. So that was a question I hadn't thought of. But I don't see why that would be a bad idea.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was something that was capable of doing. Counterspelling a counterspell is potential. All right, good.
Is that it?
I'm here for this.
What do you say, Mike?
I've never used this rule ever. Once in play, I tend to be very straightforward characters who hit things with an axe or a sword, and I've never had use for the counterspell thing.
I primarily play spellcasters. I especially love to play wizards. Because and my go-to character Teclis is a archaeologist wizard, because not only do I want to play with the spells, I also want to play with whatever history and cosmology the GM has come up with. So I like having a character with motivation that wants to go adventuring for ruin exploring and learning stuff, and bringing that stuff back and writing books.
Well, that's fair. Yeah, I had bigger thoughts about spellcasting classes in general, just because I spent more time reading, Robert E. Howard than Tolkien. So I figured that spellcasting should have a small chance of always driving me crazy. And I don't see that in D&D at all. But that is not the subject of this podcast. It isn't Mike's deep thoughts on wizards as a literary archetype. It's Counterspell. What's wrong and how to fix it. It seems like you guys have different solutions, but you both have your own take on what would make Counterspell better.
Mm-hmm. I admire Darrin's solution, and I think it's absolutely worthy.
Well, I appreciate that.
Let me ask you guys a question. When you think about the fiction you're trying to emulate with D&D in terms of wizards, what fiction are you looking at?
Well, in my case, after reading Lord of the Rings, I went straight to Dragonlance, and then on to Forgotten Realms, and all of this, all these TSR novels. So, in my case, D&D novels.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah, the thing is, Dungeons and Dragons is a high magic setting. No matter what some people will try to tell you, it is a high magic setting. And Lord of the Rings is not. Lord of the Rings is a low magic setting. Mm-hmm. The days of high magic have actually come and gone in that world. Mm-hmm. So you really need to be looking at the D&D novels to get an idea of how the magic operates. Because I have never encountered a world. Oh, that's not true. The Rift War saga. But honestly, I think the Rift War saga might have been someone's D&D campaign.
Well, that happened.
The Rift War saga was a fantasy world that was being invaded by another dimension or planet through magical portals. And one of the main characters, it starts out with two friends who grow up to be basically the big heroes. One of them is a warrior, and one of them is a wizard. And you pretty much follow the two of them and their families through the series of the novels. And the one who becomes a wizard, their spellcasting is very D&D-esque because it's big wishbone magic like this. Mm-hmm. I think that is the only book series outside of D&D that I have encountered that has very D&D-esque spellcasting.
Yeah, I guess it's another podcast, but you get to a point with D&D where D&D is just its own setting, outside of fiction, or outside of any fiction based on stuff outside of D&D. D&D is its own genre, effectively. Mm-hmm. So,
I think it was Monty Cook who said that D&D has an implied setting.
Yeah, I would agree. Is this meme accurate or inaccurate?
Counterspell in 3.5, Counterspell in 5e. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Somewhat accurate.
Okay.
The counterspell in 5e is kind of the situation that I was talking about, where it's possible to have multi-levels of counterspelling, because a person could potentially cast a spell, have someone counterspell that, and the original spellcaster with their reaction could counterspell the counterspell.
Okay. Well, yeah, we see that.
Well, everybody's burning a lot of spell slots.
But yeah, if they're willing to expend those slots, God bless them.
Filthy, dirty slots. Hot slots. All right. I would like to play a spellcaster just so I can throw this down whenever I play counterspell.
Fair enough.
So
I admire your tenacity.
Commitment to the bit. All right, guys. I think we have mined this conversational vein. Does anyone have any closing thoughts?
If you enjoyed this podcast, please sign up for the BAMF Patreon so we can make more. And Mike can give us donuts.
Indeed. Or if that whole Patreon thing scares you, Ko-fi.com BAMFpod. It's easy to say, isn't it? And I get that money directly. No percentage goes to Patreon. Because fuck those guys. Darrin, you have a link for Daring and Dread?
I have a link for a product I just released.
Oh, yes.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a free product.
You got to be Daring and Dread, I believe.
So I just dumped that in the chat.
Okay.
This is an adventure which was promised with our stretch goal for the Daring and Dread campaign setting. It is called the Siege of Sable Row, which is a first level adventure and is a pay what you want. So if you don't feel like spending money on it, it is yours for absolutely free. And it also provides a bit of a gateway into the setting. So you don't have to have the Daring and Dread setting to run the adventure, but if you do, it certainly would help. And it does contain a link to the setting in the book.
Fantastic.
And because I am a consummate professional, tinyurl.com/Sable Row will get you right to this product, which is pay what you want for just the weekend or for longer.
What's that?
How long does that pay what you want? Was that a temporary thing?
I have no plans of making it anything other than pay what you want.
Can I show off your cover?
Absolutely.
Yeah, look at this cover, folks. God damn, that is some Dean Spencer art. Look at that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I'm guessing you have a goblin attack in your book, right?
Yes, there is goblin attack. In fact, it was originally going to be a kobold attack, but because of this artwork, I changed that to a goblin attack.
That is cool.
Also, there's another link for you to drop for those who might be interested in the Daring and Dread Mega Bundle. This would be every product we've released so far, except for this adventure. You get a little bit of a discount. Runs just a little bit short of $60, but it is every product we've done for Daring and Dread so far. In my own humble opinion, it's a great value.
And again, because I am a consummate professional, tinyurl.com/daringmega. You can pick up that whole bundle right now. So, all right, guys, this has been a good show. Darrin, Jacob, thanks for coming out tonight, guys. And to all of our listeners and viewers out there, we'll catch you next time on the BAMF Podcast.
All right.